Microchips. When is it okay for your boss to shove them in your body? This week, Washington legislators said it's not, and they joined a growing number of legislators around the country who agree. What do we think? Join us this week on a orifice-violating episode of Info Hazard.
When isn't it okay for your employer to shove a
When you give
microchip up your
consent,
butt?
but like free consent, not like you're going to get fired if you don't let us put things in your body.
Yeah, it's like a shaky consent. It's kind of what Me Too was all about, right? There's power dynamics involved in the giving of consent here.
Right, there can be no freely given consent in an employer-employee relationship.
I agree. I think that the less things my boss is shoving into me, the better.
What if you're self-employed?
I mean, I am self-employed. And I do be shoving stuff into me.
See, so you're in favor of it, dude. Otherwise, you would starve.
Wait, but those aren't probably microchips.
Yes.
It's true. But he did say starve.
So if you took a bag of Pringles, Pringles come in cylinders. If you took a bag of some other chip and you crumbled it up and you ate a little crumb, then did you just shove a microchip into your mouth?
Or did your boss?
It's a fucking microchip. Oh my God.
Okay.
Not that kind of microchip, David. We're talking about RFID chips and other sort of implants that a company could potentially want to put in their employees, either for using as an ID card or perhaps even more nefarious sorts of implants. But right now, I'd say the most common sort of microchip implant is like the kind we put in dogs, right? People lose their pets. It seems like the one surefire way to recover those pets is if you had a little microchip in them.
I think a Find My Employee app is a great idea. I think everyone should consent to that.
I disagree. I think if I don't want my boss to know where I am, I think they should have as little avenue as possible for them to find me. Again, self-employed. So
Of course,
if I don't
right.
want to know where I am,
I'm kind of curious. A employee-provided phone can probably tell them where you're at with pretty good accuracy already. So I'm kind of curious what use cases of this are actually worse privacy violations than what is already like perfectly legal by your employer giving you a phone.
The basic underpinning of the ban here is that it's against employee consent. I've got a quote here from State Senator Rebecca Saldana after this bill passed unanimously in the State Senate. She said, "This is a preventative measure as far as we can tell, but we do know there are folks choosing to have microchips implanted in other instances, and so this is just simply protecting employees' rights to protection of their bodies." Seems
nice.
reasonable, right?
Your note says that they banned mandatory microchips, but then that doesn't have to do with, but it still allows for this situation where you have to give, you can just give us consent for the microchip because we sign your paycheck and feed you.
And if you say no, you'll get fired and your kids will lose health care.
Well, so that's like a scenario where that would be consent under duress, and that wouldn't be allowed.
But the point is that we were just saying, like, by the nature of the relationship between employer and employee, it's just like, the prison guard can't have a consensual relationship with the prisoner, right? There's a power dynamic.
That they can't give you microchips, basically. Like, you could put a microchip in yourself if you wanted to, but your employer can't.
This is America, after all. If I want to put microchips in my body, like God intended, then I will.
Interestingly, if the governor signs this, and it might have by the time this episode released, this is March 8th we're recording, this would be the 14th state. One of the other states, Nevada, says you can't even volunteer to get a microchip. They ban you from putting a microchip in yourself altogether.
If you want a cynical reading of this, I've got it for you.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
What allows them to look strong, like they're standing up to corporations, but they're only hypothetical corporations because no one's actually doing this yet, so it doesn't actually cost them anything.
I think, yeah, definitely. Yeah, goes against that theory a little bit. This was unanimous in the Senate, but it was not unanimous in the House. There were people who voted against this, who didn't want to take the easy win to look strong. They were voting in favor of mandatory microchipping of employees. So shock horror, these were Republicans. Who's going to step on the throats of workers in any possible scenario? Turns out Republicans. Weird.
Just imagining these guys all a quiver to start microchipping people, dude.
Yeah. At the risk of platforming some absolute psychos, I will read you some quotes from State Representative Joel McIntyre, a Republican from
I think
Cathlamet.
if he's an elected official, he already has a platform. It's okay to repeat his words.
Yeah, you're right. I don't feel too bad. What did he say? He says, the technology is here. Now, how are we as lawmakers, you and I, supposed to integrate this technology in a way that's responsible and respectful to individuals? Well, obviously, he thinks just by making it mandatory. So this is what? Like, that was baffling to me. But what was more baffling is his follow-up quote here. He added that while microchipping might seem scary, we have technology right now that scares me today.
That's
Wow.
true.
What a strong
Think about
defense,
it.
dude.
This seems like a nightmare scenario, but also I had a nightmare where I was naked in school and I didn't do the homework. Like,
Yep, that was not a very good reason. I'm sure you listened to everything he said and only wrote down the best reasons he gave.
I'll give a little bit more, try to be fair. He continues, who knows what's going to be commonplace in our workplaces 10, 15, or 20 years? I'm glad we're all having the discussion now. I imagine this won't be the last time we talk about it, but we're just trying to strike a balance today about being competitive in tomorrow's economic environment. We need to be competitive, allowing freedom of individuals to choose what they like to do with their bodies, and allowing companies to innovate, grow, and thrive. Small note. You're not allowing for freedom of individuals to do what they want with their bodies if you're allowing employers to make it mandatory that you put a microchip inside yourself. That is the opposite. It becomes your body, your employer's choice.
But you don't get it, Phil, because it's your freedom to go and work for at a company where they have mandatory microchips. If you're outlawing mandatory microchips, then you are denying workers the freedom to work at a company that has mandatory microchipping.
Indeed. This is the freedom that all Republicans strive for. The freedom to work under whatever conditions your employer decides are acceptable for you, or to starve to death.
Hey, but I mean, you heard this, dude. It's mandatory that we do this so we don't fall behind China, dude, and their crazy microchipped workers, dude.
My God, wait, are there actually microchipped workers in China?
No, but that's what he was hinting at, right? With his, we have to stay competitive by preventing a ban on mandatory microchips.
Yeah, like just the thought of a company deciding that it would drive profits somehow to microchip their employees, even that ridiculous possibility, like sci-fi future, is enough to be like, for this guy to be like, you know what, we should let companies do this. We should bring on that dystopia. A microchip is a pretty versatile piece of technology, right? Just like a computer, like a thinking machine, like it can do all sorts of stuff. The stuff we use microchips for now, it's basically just an alternative to an ID card. Leave it to tech bros to come up with a surgical solution to something that could have been done with like a pocket or a lanyard.
Okay, hold on. There are actual applications of implant microchips. Let's just talk for a minute. So probably a pacemaker counts as a microchip. Right, implant. And then I've heard of lots of at least experimental things in the brain for, say, like suppressing seizures, and of course human brain interfaces. I'm not saying I'm in favor of all of these things, but those range from life-saving to like possibly actually really useful technologies for people for productivity.
Right. In terms of real applications, it does seem that the people who study this kind of thing, the most promising application of implant chips is in medicine, at least when it comes to the sort of brain chip science fiction kind of stuff. I think a lot of the fascination with implanted chips, traces back to the book Neuromancer by William Gibson. It's one of the first recorded instances of people putting chips in their brain in sci-fi. It's a pretty influential book. It's considered the foundational text of the cyberpunk sort of aesthetic.
It's good. I've read it. I liked it. Has one of the stronger opening lines in Fiction.
What do you remember?
It's something like the sky above the port was the color of a television tuned to a dead channel.
Nice. I like it. Yeah. So in the context of Neuromancer, the people use the brain chips to jack into cyberspace. It kind of links them to a virtual world. As the potential use, if you're interfacing with your brain and an electronic, that could be a conceivable use, right? You're making like a bridge between your world and the digital world. There's a current company, Neuralink, that is one of their goals, basically. It's a Elon Musk company, Neuralink, and it's a pioneer in both brain technology interfacing and euthanizing animals. Elon Musk said the major inspiration for Neuralink came from the book The Culture and the concept of the neural lace in the fictional universe of that book. The envisioned application was it would allow humans to act in symbiosis with artificial intelligence, and that if we don't put chips in our brain, we might be left behind by advancing AI. Practically speaking, they mostly just killed sheep, pigs, and monkeys. But, the dream is there. The dream is alive.
Unlike the monkeys.
So, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about brain chips?
I mean, if I could get neural lace from the culture, I absolutely would, dude. That would be sick.
What was Neuralace? I know Phil just described it, but I didn't quite get it. It's like the internet, but you don't need to
Like
click
so much
on
more,
anything.
right? It can fully replace all of your senses. You could get truly immersive VR experiences. You can upload your brain into the internet if your physical body ever starts to falter, or you just get bored of having a physical body. Go exist
Right.
in a simulation for thousands of years.
I'm not sure I would want that.
The ethos of the culture is that every citizen should be able to experience anything for nothing.
Oh. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, an admirable goal, I suppose.
I don't
But,
know about that.
No? You
Yeah, I
think-
mean, no.
So I'd push back on this. I think that's like the best possible goal you could have for a civilization, right?
I hesitate a lot before advocating for that. Some things, we have whatever the price that we put on things has to do with their supply and demand, and in some cases, you make something so easy to access that it cheapens the thing. And by cheapen, I don't just mean in terms of the amount of money you pay for it. I mean that you don't value it. And if you can just have everything for free all the time, then you will value nothing. Is a concern that I have. This is the case with so much stuff on the internet today. There's streaming music. There's something about having to actually work to go buy a CD, go to a music store, put the thing in the record and play it and skip to the right song and all of that. Maybe I'm just being a sap. I think it's depressing when things just become stupid because of how easy to access they are. Worthless.
So then you kind of approve of the Amish attitude. You think there's like a proper level of technology that people are happiest at, or what?
Maybe.
Like,
I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is we should probably think about that real hard before we go all in with just I'm just going to live forever in simulation. Seems like it's worth a serious thought before we go all in on that one.
Yeah, I think I would not be a beta tester for that, for sure. And if Elon Musk is involved, I'm probably not going to be. There might be rave reviews for this virtual world. But yeah, I don't think I will partake. And I think you're probably right. This is just like easy political points, kind of not really doing anything. But then again, as Benjamin Franklin once famously quipped, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And in that spirit, why stop here? Why stop at Neuromancer when we could do all sorts of preemptive laws based on all sorts of stories? I would like you two to join me in doing a little theory crafting here for some new laws, potentially even constitutional amendments. Back on board, David? Yeah.
You
Okay.
just woke me up there.
Okay.
That's my wake
So,
word.
We like to solve problems here. Let's solve some problems that don't yet exist.
Perfect.
I'm going to read off some famous science fiction stories, and we're going to identify the potential problem they're talking about and find a potential solution. So I'm going to start off with the absolute OG of science fiction, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. What problem problem can we pre-crime here
Dude, you got to make reanimation illegal, obviously, right?
to make reanimation illegal? I
Was it-
think we could do a little bit better. As I was making this list, it occurred to me that this segment could devolve into, so this, just make that illegal. And
Yeah.
and this, also make that illegal.
No, yeah, you get points for generalizing. Isn't resuscitation kind of reanimation? But also, didn't they stitch together pieces from different creatures to make the creature? So they weren't reanimating, they were animating.
Frankenstein's monster? It's different
Right.
criminals, I think, is the problem here.
Right, so they were
Like-
animating a new being. They weren't reanimating a previously living being. That constitutional amendment stinks, Danny.
I guess this is why I haven't made any.
But it doesn't have to be a constitutional
No.
amendment. I mean, this is a state law.
So it's a bunch of criminals patched together in bits to form a new creature. This is something that you could definitely imagine in this future where we all upload our consciousnesses and where our brains are neatly just data in computers. You could take a slice of this one and a slice of that one and create something new in a way that hard to put your finger on what's so yucky about it. But or like what's so messed up about this?
No creating uber mention by slicing and dicing other people.
Yeah. I think you touched on something kind of interesting earlier with this anti-Frankenstein law we're trying to come up with. How do you write this law in a way that doesn't prohibit organ donation and resuscitation?
Right. So, yeah, I think we just did it. Danny just phrased it perfectly. No building uber mention by slicing and dicing other people.
Mention.
No, you can build uber mention, but not by slicing and dicing other people.
Yeah, the Bionic Man is okay.
All right. That's good. Okay.
If you have the technology, you can rebuild him, but you can't build him out of a collection of bits of other people.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let's keep on that classic tip. We got The Time Machine by Jules Verne.
Yeah, I think no going back in time seems like pretty... The problem is it's,
or
of
forward.
course, very... Well, anyway, no going back in time seems pretty unenforceable.
Wait, you can't ban people from going forward in time, dude, because everyone's always going forwards in time a little bit.
Yeah, and that's what I hope to stop. In my Santa Cruz County bill that I'm forwarding, we'll stop the march of time. This will be good for the NIMBYs in my community who don't like to see change in their community. It's like,
no time changing in our community.
Yeah, stop it at the source. No more time changing. Here's something maybe a little bit more enforceable. 1984. What can we
thought
prohibit?
crimes.
Just enforcing current sort of restrictions on surveillance. That's a big step away from the future envisioned by 1984.
The same laws we already have, or an actual right to privacy, protection against illegal search and seizure.
The whole protection against search and seizure thing is such a weaselly little thing, and is allowed for so much nonsense. We should just have a more concrete prohibition on government surveillance.
I mean, I think also clearly we need something more like ban on any search and seizure, right? It's not just that the government can't do it, right? I think what the amendment says is something about an unreasonable search and seizure, right? But the problem is, Google is unreasonably searching and seizing our data all the time. Yeah, so the Constitution protects us against unreasonable search and seizure by the government, but it doesn't protect us from unreasonable search and seizure by private corporations or external governments.
I mean, it's not like Google is coming to your house and reading your mail, dude. It's like if you put stuff up on a website and then in your robots.txt you don't tell them not to, then they'll index your site, right?
I mean, and they own the software on your phone and they track your GPS and stuff like that. All of my mail, all of my email, the vast majority of my mail goes through Google software that they can read if they want.
Yeah, but
They
you don't have to. Like you could use Proton Mail or whatever.
That's right, but I think yes, I could use.
It should be default illegal, probably, for them to search your mail.
Right, it shouldn't be that oh, there's some like Byzantine way to opt out of this stuff if I figure it out. Nowadays, because we are already in the dystopia, the reasonable expectation of an email provider is that they're spying on you. The reasonable expectation today of anyone who sells you any device is that they're spying on you. And that should change. Should back that up some and make the reasonable expectation that they're not spying on you, that they're just doing the things that you would have to do to provide the service that they're providing. And
this is all golden and it's great, but the sort of unfortunate thing about 1984 is that we're living through the dystopia, so it doesn't really fit the exercise.
With 1984, we're not totally there yet. We're not totally there, but we're knocking at the door. I think the biggest thing that will take us there is that companies like Google complete their corruption of our government and take over.
Blade Runner, aka do androids dream of electric sheep? I guess this is what we want to avoid here is replicants, robots that are indistinguishable from people. I don't know. Do we want to stop that?
I mean, depends. They treat them pretty shoddily. I guess if you make something that's as smart as a human and feels as much as a human, then you shouldn't treat it like a slave. It could be a law. Pretty hard to enforce.
Yeah. That would be like we're really stretching our future legislation muscles on this one. Maybe we make it easy for ourselves. Like we just ban human likenesses on robots.
Yeah, I think that one's kind of interesting. I build spoken dialogue systems. Anything that can produce human sounding speech, you could say is human-like. So, yeah, I think that it's reasonable to say that it should be illegal to have a computer program impersonate a person. And so there has to be clearly identifiable artifacts to show that it's not a person. And whether that's when you're like chatting, when you're doing this chat support on a website, it goes back and forth between automated and human, and there's automation that a human says yes to, like a human in the loop kind of a thing. So there is a bit of a gradient of what these systems actually are. The way that the speech synthesis is so realistic, there are definitely people who speak to these systems and think they're talking to a human, and they can make it through a long call and think they were talking to a human. And that's just like, that's over the phone or over the chat box on a web browser on an actual thing that looks like the physical robot in your presence.
Yeah, I think like Harrison Ford, for example.
Spoilers.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I would definitely entertain a law that says that machines need clear methods for distinguishing themselves from humans.
Yeah, I want it now. I get mad at this when it's the drive-thru at Burger King and it's just a pre-recorded message of "Welcome to Burger King where you rule," and then you kind of have to wait a little bit before the person gets to talk.
Yeah. Even on mass emails, it's kind of interesting. Someone who's marketing by sending out thousands of emails, if they're just sort of like clearly labeled as automated, but then if somebody actually manually, say, copies and pastes it into the box in an email thing and hits yes, then it is actually a human.
I love the fact that this law would now create jobs in third world countries to write personally crafted spam emails, dude.
Yeah.
Dear sir, it has recently come to our attention. Your credit rating could be higher.
The thing I like about this the most is that it directly attacks the underpinning of the entire U.S. economy right now. Last one, Jurassic Park. I say we do nothing. I want dinosaurs.
Yeah, wait. I think this is when we need to change laws to bring it about rather than prevent it. Dude.
Yeah.
It's unanimous.
What sort of pre-laws do you want to write? How are you going to stop the sci-fi dystopias of the future? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for joining us on another Future Crimin' episode of Info Hazard. We'll catch you guys in the future. Ooh.